extremely helpful, and we help them as well to perform well. Okay, thank you very much. Daniel is first yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Rutishauster. I'm head of blockchain and head of financial services at INAFTA. We are a strategic partner of CDVC. And since we are in Davos at the World Economic Forum, Globalization 4.0 is a topic, and we have basically two theses around that, which will bring us at the end to the panel discussion. We'll have a couple of colleagues of ours. So the two theses we have is, first, the token economies we believe will be enabled, the Globalization 4.0, and we will see the convergence of traditional and crypto finance. We already discussed about this topic a little bit during the afternoon. First, just a few words about our company. The company is a pioneer in the crypto space. We have a 10 years old history in the digitization space, and in the crypto area we focus basically on these two areas. First of all, crypto assets that will be talking today, and TLT solutions. We have leading experts in our team, for instance, two board members of the of the Bitcoin Association Swiss, and we have a unique network with the crypto valley competition with startups. We just now run the competition for real estate, which is very interesting because we heard today that they will be the first place for the STOs. And we run the CV labs together with CVC, where we have a lot of startups working on blockchain. Then we have the CV Summit, which is actually happening every half year in Zug, a very prestigious summit, all about blockchain, one whole day, usually 1,000 participants there. And we also have the CV Maps database, like a directory, where we see how that actually more than 700 companies are working in the field of blockchain in Crypto Valley. And Crypto Valley for us is Switzerland and Liechtenstein. What you see here is a report we do together with PwC 3 or 4 times a year. It's called Top 50 Crypto Valley. And what you here see basically also is that a lot of the top 50 come out of are in the financial industry somehow. What is also very interesting, what you see on this, the valuation and the funding only of these top 50 companies, how big they are. We saw this very nice bubble chart before, this animated bubble chart, and you saw a lot of blue bubbles. This is Europe, and a lot of those are basically have been run in Switzerland or Liechtenstein. So the topic of the World Economic Forum is Globalization 4.0, and Klaus Schwab is very clear about that. He thinks that we are not yet really prepared for it. Isn't working anymore?
Is it working?
No. Okay. So, might be that you already have seen this number. It is a report which was released a couple of days before. What is in there, that every day the world's wealthiest people get richer 2.5 billion every day. And the poorest half of the world, they lose every day. And in total it's around 11%. So it's a huge gap, and the gap it's getting bigger. And we think this is because only few are really connected into the global economy, and the majority they are not really. And we believe that the token economy will be one enabling element of the Globalization 4.0. But what are these token economies? Now, once again, not working. Thanks. So token economy, in our definition, are shared economy plus crowdfunding plus distributed ledger technology. Yes, please. So now a little bit more in detail what we mean in this. Shared economy, you know, there's a two circle. First, imagine that you have a carpool which you want to run and to share. There's usually one entity who is buying the cars and then renting them out in a pay-per-use model. Now you add on this, the crowdfunding system means it's not one entity who is owning the fleet later, but it's the crowd. What you then have, we call it network economies. So you have these two cycles. First cycle is the invest profit cycle, but you still need there a central entity in order to run the cycle and to get the money is going to the right investors. And in the second cycle is the usage cycle, where you have a pay-per-use model. And again, there you have a central entity. Usually it's a platform where you can reserve when you want to drive the car, and then the payment goes through this platform, all centralized. Yeah, thank you. So when we add distributed ledger technology, basically the two cycles are enhanced. We don't have central entities anymore, but tokens, and the tokens are enabling the economies. And how is this done? So on the left-hand side, you see that with the distributed ledger, you protect your investments, and with the peer-to-peer transaction, you have huge process automation on the lower cycle. And on the other hand, on the right-hand side, with the smart contracts, you have an automation and also instant payment facility, which was not there like this before, and an instant sharing of earnings through the cryptocurrencies and also, of course, smart contracts. And with this, what you have seen, there's the new asset class. We already talked about this afternoon, is on the horizon, and a lot of those tokens are very interesting to invest in. And don't only talk or think about a car fleet, you can also think about a cattle farm, for instance. We currently have a project in this space where we're tokenizing a cattle farm, for instance. But you can think of unlimited other ideas. So we have another thesis about the financial system. What we think so far was done with the digitization is kind of a more efficient financial system. We have worked a lot in the operational efficiency part until now, and we think now is the time where the whole financial system will get more effective. So we're working on the right stuff. We don't only do it right, but we want to work on the right stuff. And this is what we think that the value chain will change. And there are a lot of opportunities when we take both together now for the banking industry. First of all, when you look at this, for instance, in the private banking sector, you have the need to advise to people because there's a lot of open questions now with the crypto assets. Just one example is taxation. Or what is also a very important topic is inheritance. So if you have crypto assets and you want to pass it on, you need to organize this somehow. Otherwise, they're lost. If you don't give the key or you have some way to give on the keys to your crypto assets, they're just lost. So then we need some system, or the bank can basically step in, what we think we can. And it's not only in the private bank sector, but also in the retail sector. We think also in the retail sector, we already have, we see some movements there that some retail banks go into this space to offer key or wallet management again as a trusted entity, just to deal with the risk, not when you lose the keys. And then what is also happening, bringing all those together with the STOs, we see a fractionalizing, right, of the capital market. And this gives access to the retail users, or to the favela guys, like Daniel was mentioning. And this we think is one major trend as well, where we believe is a huge opportunity for also the established players in the market. On the other hand, what I also want to mention, this is basically the new element coming in again, is the peer-to-peer finance. And we have to deal with this, or the whole ecosystem and value chains have to deal with this. And we are most probably, a lot of people in this room, they're quite clear that this sector will grow. What do we mean with the peer-to-peer finance? Well, it starts, of course, with the instant payment, Bitcoin came in 10 years ago. But it's also in the credit and lending or trading area. We will see a lot of activities later on. So said that, I want to hand over to my colleague, Roger Dari, who is running the crypto asset team at our company for the panel discussion. Thanks a lot.
Right, this is going to be a boring panel discussion without the panelists. Please come up. Alice? Excellent.
Yeah, except that I'm blind.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of Okay.
Right, now you're no longer in the spotlight, but as we've seen, this has disadvantages. Thank you very much for coming. We have seen a whole bunch of opportunities in blockchain and finance space. You have set out to address this. So give us your elevator pitch. Who are you? What problem do you solve? Let's start on the very right.
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Who's awake? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Everybody had their coffee or alcohol? Good. Well, I ask questions usually, who's awake, just to see where I should look into the audience. My name is Alice Lipkova. I'm the co-founder of New Economies. We are an agency that provides media marketing services as well as investor relations. We've been in the blockchain industry for about 2 years. Talk louder.
And keep the microphone like this. No, close, straight.
Not like this. Look here.
Like this.
Close it out.
I think I'm close to the screen.
It's a good background music.
We'll ditch the mics. Oh, this is a good angle. Okay. So neweconomies.com, we have a show here at Davos. If you've seen some of the shipping container next to Hotel Europe, we cover all the news in the blockchain industry. We mainly interview founders, investors, and influencers in the blockchain industry. The reason why we do that is we would like to help the market mature. We travel around the world to conduct these interviews, especially, but the majority of our interviews are at the London Stock Exchange studios as well as NASDAQ. So please ask us any questions, and if you would like an interview, you can come to the studios down the street.
All right, let's give this a try. My name is Andreas Kaltais. I'm head of marketing of Novum Gold. We are a traditional gold company. We deal with actual physical gold. And the reason why we are here is because we start to implement 2 tokens to make gold more accessible. On one hand, to solve some problems like storage and stuff for the people we have here, our customers here, but also to make it accessible to people everywhere in the world. Especially, I liked from the other slide, the Favela people. We make it accessible in small amounts and take care of the storage and all those things for them. And yeah, that's what we do. It's quite simple, actually.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. I'm Sushil Bravo. I'm CEO of OpenCrowd. We are a fintech solution company from New York City. We help investment banks and startups build solutions. We've been around for the last 14 years. We started as an open source company, helping clients use open source and build products. In the last 2 years, we've been helping a lot of clients with blockchain solutions. And we built some very unique solutions that are out in the market right now. Thank you.
All right, I represent Gen2 today. I'm the CEO of Gen2 and founder of Gen2 at Gen2 Digital. We make that very simple. We can make on any asset and any asset class bankable securities, Swiss securities, the Swiss ISIN. They are tradable, they are fungible, they're exchangeable, and they can, of course, greatly support any crypto venture or any investor or any bank or any asset manager to make portfolios of tokens or portfolios of any asset or trackers on any asset with a Swiss ISIN, in a Swiss security, bankable and, as I said, fungible in the whole world.
Excellent, thank you all. The first thing I want to get into are partnerships. Sushil, I believe you have just recently announced a partnership. How important are partnerships in this field that's so dominated by technology?
I mean, blockchain, as you all understand, is still very young, very nascent, and the ecosystem is extremely important. And the way you do that is by partnership. In our case, some of these partnerships are platforms that we have built. Most recently, we've been working with, for the last 15 months, we've been working with a company called Hedera Hashgraph. We are their development partners. If you know about Hashgraph, it's a new blockchain infrastructure that's being built, which is going to be way faster than what we have right now in the market. We just recently announced a partnership with another platform that we are building called Securrency, which lets you create security tokens, asset tokens on the platform. So yes, they are very important because we help our clients build their ecosystems. You know, a product company typically builds a product, but there's a lot that needs to be built around it, right, for it to grow, and we help our clients with that. Yes, very important, I think.
Andreas, you have been nodding in agreement.
Well, absolutely. The blockchain space is growing fast, but as soon as you get into the business, there are so many uphill battles to fight and so many problems to solve. And well, if you're new, just starting up like we are, you can't do all of this alone. So partnerships are very important.
Sorry, Alice. I suspect you doing what you do. You also quite occupied fostering ecosystems around what you do.
Yes, so as you mentioned, strategic partnerships are extremely important. Equally so is video content. The reason I say that is that video leads to about 86 conversions, so more eyeballs on your website. So when you're sending your pitch decks, and whether you can't make it to Davos, you have a video that shows that you were here speaking with investors and discussing your project. And that, because we have a lot of emotional connections and a lot of the decisions we make are emotional, and we see who these founders are behind the blockchain projects, we also build trust. So the reason to do video, to use that format to gain strategic partnerships and to gain investment. So that's been working.
Right.
Yeah, I would pick up on just what you said on the trust side. I think that the digitalization, the blockchain community is still young, as some of the panelists said. And I think that there's a lot going on in this community, and there's a lot to do still. And of course, the capital inflow into that space is also needed. And I think that the digital capital market or the crypto market is not quite there yet, that the build between the old-fashioned capital market and the new capital market. So I think there is a lot of interest that we can connect to a service that can help fuel that community, fuel that digitalization, fuel that involvement, as we saw also with speeches before. I think that ownership in different asset classes is getting really important and just expresses the diversity of all of us. And I think that's really the world that we have to bring together, the corporate finances to these endeavors.
So what you're saying is that money wants to flow into crypto, but somehow struggles to
No, I think money wants to flow basically everywhere where there is activity and growth, and there are ways to support that growth. And the real point in it is that institutionals, privates, any individual wants to have access, and on the other side that all the people with the great ideas need the connections to exactly these resources, and that's the thing that we have to do all together. That's not something that one can achieve by its own, and that's exactly, I think, why we're all here.
I just want to make one comment, just elaborating a little bit more.
Please use the microphone. I mean, hold it a bit closer.
Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I just want to elaborate a little bit more on the partnership. You mentioned partnership, then we started talking about ecosystem, the video.
Really close.
Really close. Hello? Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm very shy, so. Just talking about the ecosystem, just to draw an analogy, if you look at open source, which happened in the 80s, 90s, and it's now everywhere, it didn't happen because someone like Linus wrote Linux operating system. It happened because there were a million or thousands of engineers who wrote other pieces, and then we are exactly there right now with blockchain. All these companies are building the infrastructure, and they're really expecting just basic stuff to be built by the rest. So I think it's not just a partnership, it's the ecosystem, and it's extremely important for at least the engineers and all the developers to be in, to build, to take it to the next level. It's not going to happen on its own. There's only so many companies that are going to get $1 billion investment. Most companies get less than $5 million investment, and I know a lot of them. And sometimes some people get even just less than $1 million. So the products they're great ideas, but they're not going to build on their own. Like, it's a very key point. There's the whole about video marketing and the fact that we need all these developers to start adding content programs to it.
Just add something?
Sure.
I'll ask another question. How many of you are investors in the room? How many of you are looking to invest in leading blockchain companies in this room? So after this panel discussion, you can kind of, again, investors, raise your hand. Okay, so we got that gentleman on the panel, we got that lady, two ladies here. Anybody else? Gentleman back? Just to make sure that everybody knows who's in the room. And how many of you are looking for investment? Okay, there's a gentleman there. Lucas, my co-founder, New Economies. Lady up front. Gentleman over here. Okay.
We bring growth and also connect with growth, and that usually connects also with a certain relationship, and in our world it usually also starts with an investment.
Also, I would like to add something to that. Crowdfunding has started a couple of years ago and has become a mainstream trend and has opened up the minds of many people that would not have been even thinking about investing into something before. And now blockchain gets all this media attention all around the world, and even more people who were probably not interested or didn't even know they had the chance to do so can now invest their money, not just leave it in the bank, but invest it in companies that they believe in ideas that they believe in, and this trend is still growing. And it's even more accessible now than it has ever been. And on the same note, it's now easier than ever for a company or for a single entrepreneur to get funding for their idea because of the internet, because of all those things.
May I add? And also, I mean, for the bigger companies, for the big enterprises, I mean, that's where the magic happens at the moment, and that's where they want to go. So there must be tools for that.
I just want to add one thing. There are lots of different models, right? The crowdfunding, companies like us, what we've been doing is we definitely encourage crowdfunding, but we also invest in these companies in lieu of fees. So instead of charging fees, if they're a startup and if they are seed funding, if they have some funding, we do that. We take equity in lieu of fees. So that's another way you can fund a seed company and take them to Series A, or any other way of funding. But there are lots of different ways, and I think they're all in operation right now.
Let's look at a different aspect in the ecosystem, that of the regulated jurisdictions. And Andreas, you mentioned before this panel that you initially started out in Switzerland, then moved away. What obstacles did you find in one place? What benefits did you find in the other?
Well, it was a very small, tiny thing that we started our project in Switzerland, and we were lucky enough to have CV advisory on our side, so we started here in Zug with everything. However, with our gold-backed stable coin, with our token, there came up a little problem, which was that the paper that our company has to put out once these tokens are minted, in order for this to change owner, so the token to change owner, you need a physical signature in Switzerland. That's just the law. So we couldn't do it here. Then we moved to Liechtenstein with everything, and the Liechtenstein lawyers, Nagle, in our first meeting, he said, yeah, sure, you can tokenize that here. And so it was just a very little thing that made all the difference to us. That's why we moved there, and the legislation and everything is very progressive there. So we're very happy with it.
Right. Does jurisdiction play a role when you talk to investors?
Definitely, especially if you, let's say your family office in New York City and your Swiss company startup based in Zurich, and you want to receive the investment. However, you don't want the US dollar. So what does the family office do that wants to invest in a Swiss company? They go through Cayman Islands, for example. So before you pitch investors, ask them, let the investors know what kind of capital you're looking for and what currencies are important.
Sushil, you're also based in New York with your company.
Yeah.
I mean, still you're here, so you look outside the US.
Yeah, I mean, most of our clients right now are in US, and last year, this was 2018, they all had issues with raising capital. And the jurisdiction played a lot of role. Some registered in Cayman, Bermuda, actually later. So that is something, now we deal a lot less with that because the clients actually are, they get the investment, but it does impact the building of the products because cash is important, money is important. So yes, jurisdiction does play a big role. And we do ask them now, where are they getting their funds from? Are there going to be delays in that? And if it's from US, from a traditional family office, then it's a lot faster. But if there are any jurisdiction play, then it does add an element of complexity to it, yeah.
I would certainly agree to some points of that, but I also must say the tools are out there. The tools are out there, and I don't actually believe so much in only the jurisdictional hazards or into all the challenges you're facing there. I think that tools are right now available globally that allow basically finding the right information, finding the right people to support your cause, and also bridge that. If it's in another location, but certainly the bridges can be made, and I think we're more dealing with the old traditional world of lawyers, banks, and all the different administrators in the topics that are just gatekeepers, and that's exactly what digitalization or the crypto space, the blockchain space, should be basically frog leaping over these certain kind of challenges.
I also want to add investment preferences are key. So before pitching to any investors, ask them if they prefer to invest in protocol, infrastructure, or media companies, and really understand what the investor is looking for, because at the end of the day, it's still the old business model and demonstrating how does the investor make their money. Once the tokens go on the exchange, do we guarantee that the token will stay at a certain price? So communicating that.
What you sort of imply is that people that invest in crypto want exposure to crypto space. But Andreas, in your case, that's totally not the case, right? You get zero crypto exposure when you buy your token.
Exactly. So blockchain and crypto is the means that we use to make gold more accessible to many people. However, many of our investors, we have almost 1.5 million US dollars in gold tokens already out there. Many of these people are no crypto people. We set the wallets up for them and help them with everything. It's just like the idea.
Using the blockchain, it's using all of that is registered on the blockchain. And you actually get a wallet in this case, which is the only similarity to the crypto world. But you can now trade diamond, you can buy it as an investment grade property. There's a custodian, the diamond are kept in the custodian. If you move away from the custody, it gets taken out of the blockchain. So there are lots of ideas there which will leverage the blockchain, but it doesn't have to be crypto tokens, and this could be just asset backed token. And they're not a security token either. They're just asset backed tokens.
So, as a banker, what is my best strategy now? Should I embrace this? If so, how do I make money? And if there's no way for me as a banker to make money, how do I stop this from happening?
Yeah, I mean, sure, as a banker, everywhere there is growth, I think there should be an interest, and certainly if you're looking economically, and I would say bankers can, and all investors can, and all entrepreneurs can. So certainly there is that room. I think it's the accessibility, it's not the reinvention of tools, it's really coming together to use the tools that are there.
So I have this friend. He's a banker actually, and he told me that his bank, back in Austria where I live, they told their employees, well, you can't have Bitcoin or something like that. We're going to fire you. I don't even know if that's legal, but this idea of trying to stay away from this as best as they can, it's so stupid. And companies that are like that, they're going to fall behind at some point because this is becoming mainstream. Crypto for now, it's a growing community, and there's crypto people and techies and so on. But this is taking every step as fast as it can to get out there into the mainstream, into the lives of normal people, and that will, whatever, that's gonna happen. So companies that are not embracing this development, banks and others, they're gonna fall behind. Exactly.
I think bankers know what they're doing. I think that bankers such as, if we look at Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, senior executives have been investing in Bitcoin. They know exactly when to invest. Do the employees know when to invest? Probably not. If you look at tech consultants, let's say IBM Consulting, they've been investing in Bitcoin. So part of it is education, is having access to that information, when to invest, and the other aspect, media. So when John McAfee says that Bitcoin will be at a certain price, I don't have to say it's 100,000, 300,000, people will go and buy Bitcoin. Now, that's the same thing, is that it doesn't matter who you are, you will look at media and you will read the news, and that will determine your purchasing power and access to that information. At the end of the day, you have to be a little bit biased and look at the leading media outlets, the independent media outlets, such as my company, and also look at independent research consulting agencies that will give you the information for you to make your own decision. So it's not enough just to really, target certain people in the industry. It's more about hiring the consultants and getting access to the groups that really do their research. We have a head of research manager at our company, Sherman. I think she's here. She was supposed to be here. And that's all she does all day long is research, and she provides that research to governments as well as banks. So again, at the end of the day, figure out where you want to invest, and then find those people that will do the research for you.
Right.
Can I get a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. So, what will banks do was your question. I think blockchain is going to make it a lot more efficient. So in '93, I was working on a straight-through processing project, and that's the same question people ask: what are the banks going to do? Because the settlement is going to be so fast. There's a middle office, a fact middle office, a back office, and straight-through processing made banking a lot more efficient. Your trades get settled very quickly. Then came the fixed protocol at the same time and said, the fixed protocol, this is going to be all automated. What's a bank going to do? Banks are still there. So to think about what will the banks do, I would say this is just going to, blockchain is going to make it a lot more efficient. There are certain areas where there's inefficiency is going to go away, and the people involved in it will have to figure out some other way to do it. I think this is just going to make the global economy, like the presentation just before this, far better. More people will be able to participate. Banks are going to get bigger, I think. If you're talking about $1 trillion assets coming into the market, you will still need the bank. So, it's not a replacement of the bank, it's just making the whole system efficient, is what I think.
Yeah. Efficient and more effective. Yeah, I would like to open the panel up for Q&A from the audience. I'm sure you're dying to ask some questions.
Hi, I'm Guido Schmitz from Omaha. One question. Do you think the market is already ready according to technology, blockchain technology or other products, for a larger major move to M&A transactions to bring technology together? Or do you think it's still the right approach that all the project exists alone and try to reach it?
Hello. Is blockchain technology ready for the market? Or is the market ready? Either way, I answer the question. The technology is getting there. Okay, that's why I use the word nascent when I started this conversation. It's getting there. I think 2019 is the year when you'll find a lot.
Had no real interest in what was going on. But what happened underneath was the interesting thing, the ecosystem that the internet created, and that's the same thing with the blockchain. I think that's the focus, and finally in this crypto industry, you get to start talking about the blockchain and not only about the cryptocurrencies that are reaching new highs.
So what you're saying is that we have an underlying current that is strong, it's developing, technology is making progress. What could stop this progress from progressing further? Any obstacles that you can identify?
Well, I'll take a swing at this. I think the regulations, but so much has been talked about this in the panel before. We do need some regulations. We do need some backing from SEC, from the Congress, at least in US. And I think that's happening. I mean, I don't have any more information than most of you have, but every article I read there, like I think last week there was some bill in terms of crypto regulation that was put in Congress in US. So that there are things happening, and if they stall, yeah, there will be. But you know, you can use blockchain technology for lots of different use cases internally in an enterprise too. So I think it will not stall it. It might be progress will be slower. One of the all the transactions speed and everything else I mentioned, that needs to happen this year. It looks like it might even happen in the next 6 months. And then the ecosystem that we talked about. The ecosystem is very critical because I'm looking at the technology that's being built. It's very raw and basic, right? It's not a finished product. The user experience doesn't exist. I mean, how many of you are going to put a hash code as your private address? I won't. I can't remember my phone number many times. So I do. But, so I think there is all of these things have to happen, and if they don't happen, then I would worry about it. But I'm a big optimist.
I would like to add, well, it's probably, regulation is probably just going to slow it down a little bit. However, this thing is so strong and so fast. If you look at how long countries usually take to regulate something, and how fast, for example, Malta and Liechtenstein and other countries as well are in coming up with regulatory frameworks that are actually even smart. You know, many times countries do stupid things when it comes to regulation. But especially Liechtenstein, because we've been experiencing it all the time, because the lawyers we use are heavily involved in writing regulatory framework there. It's amazing how fast it comes about and how smart it is, how actually applicable it is, and that's going to lay the groundwork for all these projects that are in the development now. Maybe it's going to slow them down a little bit, but it's gonna make them sustainable, because there will be no further roadblocks down the road of anyone turning around saying, hey, that's actually not possible, that's a problem. Instead, sure, it takes a little longer now to become safe on the regulatory side now, but then everything has a very strong base, and so that current, it cannot be stopped, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, now I was selfish, throwing in another question from myself, ignoring the audience, but I want to make up. So.
Given that there's a move, I'm Jeremy from Swisscom, given there's a move towards backed cryptocurrencies with real assets, what do you see the future of unbacked cryptocurrencies?
Excellent. Yeah, please.
Well, I'll just quickly jump in there, because we have an asset-backed token. I can't say what the future for the non-asset-backed cryptocurrencies will be. This is just my personal opinion. Trust is a very important issue in all of these things, and the trust is there when there is an asset behind it. When there is not, and when things happen like all these ICOs that have been scams and other problems occurring, probably trust is going to reduce. However, I have no idea how that's really gonna affect the development. But sure, the more trust people can put into something, the easier it is for them to use it and get started on it.
And also takes some kind of interest.
I just want to say this: the assets are being tokenized. That's going on. But I think you said the unbanked. Wasn't that the unbanked? That's digital identity, and a lot of people are working on
Unbacked.
yes, the unbanked. Yes.
Not unbanked. Unbacked. Bitcoin is an unbacked currency.
Okay, sorry.
It's Litecoin.
I thought you said
Tethercoin.
unbanked. Sorry.
Maybe I would also add, I really would not know how to answer the question, but on the other side, I would also say we have many currencies today, fiat currencies, that we have no idea about the backing. I mean, the Fed does not even know how many dollars exist. So they just take an assumption. So I think it's also a bit of a term of relevance and avoidance and where the market is going, and I think it's also for the market side.
If you took US dollar versus gold, and you bought a cryptocurrency for gold or US dollar 100 years ago, which would you prefer to help?
Good question. I guess the question will be what I can do with it. I mean, in terms of gold, my abilities to transact are fairly limited. And most probably I would be forced to switch into dollar at one stage. And only to be with the crowd and be with the market and not only with the value. So yes, most probably I would have preferred gold, but only if I have enough cash.
Actually, I don't know if you read about Financial Times, but every year they have this trade of the year thing towards the end. And 2014, apparently, they had all the list of great trades that you could do. And there was at the bottom, there was one trade that, of course, nobody did, they wrote, and that was sell gold, buy Bitcoin. Of course, it would have been the best trade of the year. And turns out, I spoke to someone yesterday, and his brother actually did do that trade. He sold gold and he bought Bitcoin. Yeah. Now, Bitcoin's history is 10 years. Gold goes back 2,500 years.
I have to say that disclosure. So at the end of the day, there's two types of people. Are you looking to invest in the currency and make money, perhaps, or you're looking into investing in the blockchain technology infrastructure, the knowledge, which will help companies in the long term, because what essentially blockchain systems do, they reduce your operational cost. And they also reduce your time it takes to process certain systems in your network. So if you're a business owner or you're a large corporate business owner, then you should be looking into blockchain systems that eventually would allow you to have your company be around for another 100 years. Because what's been working for the past 100 years isn't going to continue working just because of the emerging technologies that are available now. So whoever makes that investment now, it has a competitive advantage given the regulatory support in place.
I can speak for tokens or cryptocurrencies that are in fact, but well, I have to add or agree. It's not fast and it's not cheap to launch. I mean, sure, you could just launch one and it's there. If you actually really want to do an ICO and collect a community, that's very expensive. We're spending so much marketing dollars for it to work. To have it in a bank, hundreds of thousands of euros or dollars, and if you don't have that, just zero chance for it to work anyways. But we're getting a lot of interest in stablecoin precisely for that reason, because people say, well, people can grasp it and that are not crypto people, you know. They think, oh, sure, it's backed by gold, that makes sense for me, I can trust it. But others just don't, and so I wouldn't say those will perish or anything, but we're seeing a rise in interest in all kinds of stablecoins, largely, and that's certainly gonna become growing.
So just quickly, because it looks like there's somebody else too. I would invest in a cryptocurrency which has a lot of value behind it, right?
Hello, yeah, sorry.
I'll invest in a cryptocurrency that has a lot of value in it. So let's say if someone comes up with a micropayment system on the blockchain, and millions of people are using it, I'll invest in that. So there's no how many are going to survive. No one has an answer, but I think if there's a real value and perceived value, but real value in that chain, in that cryptocurrency that you build, I would go and buy that. And right now, the reason Bitcoin is going up and down because people don't see what the value is, and no one is really using it to transact.
Okay, no question anymore.
No?
I'm sorry, I have to
sorry,
intercept. Now, no.
We can answer.
Thank you very much. You have the pleasure afterwards to join the container we have outside our rocklet reception, and you're gonna receive this pin That's a unique thing. You can get it outside, but only outside, not inside, because we have to go out